Hey guys, it's Joey and Michael from Sports Scouts, and before we get on the show, we just want to let you guys know about something exciting that is coming to the Force Scout this semester. We are now officially doing podcast ad reads, and unlike the ads that we offer on the Force Scout website, go check out our editorial policy for more information on those. We do have a good financial option for any business to advertise on the Force Scouts podcast. So basically, check this out if you want to advertise your businesses on the Force Scouts podcast. That'd be all of the shows. So, Michael has more information on that.
So it'll be $15 per semester. Like Joey said, it'll be all the podcasts, our podcast, The Water Cooler, and the rest of the podcasts that are on our website. There's been a lot more this year than there was last year, so there's definitely a lot of options for businesses, I guess, to choose. It's a new option we have, and I think, hopefully some businesses, I guess, take up the offer, because it's a new way, I guess, to promote their businesses, and because definitely the podcast has been getting quite a bit of views, ours and other ones, so it's definitely a good option for people. So
like our show's coverage of both local and national sports, that's what we do here. We want both local and national businesses, anybody really, to use this opportunity to both donate to our student journalism and let us do even better things in the future, and then also just get the word out about what they may do. So it's a great place to advertise. Lots of people will see it. So we hope you consider that option. Let's get right in the show. Welcome to Sports Scouts. I'm Joey Goodser.
Michael Rowe.
And we're recording this episode 2.3 on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2019.
2020.
Or Jesus Christ, 2020. That's right. We are in a new year. It's been a little bit of time since we've recorded our last episode, and lots has happened, so we're excited to get back into it. It's been a long time. We recorded the week before finals, and now we're all the way a couple weeks into the new year with basically all of the football's postseasons playing out. I mean, that's the main thing we're going to talk about, so we're very, very excited about that. So other than talking about that, we're going to talk about baseball Hall of Fame announcements. We're going to talk about vicious college basketball brawls. We're going to talk about new NFL rules and more. But first, Michael will give you some scout scores.
Yeah, so girls basketball last night defeated Glenbrook South 52-43. The boys are on the road, and they won at Vernon Hills 45-40. They'll take on Libertyville at home on Friday night, and the girls will be at Stevenson at the same time. And gymnastics just had their Lake County invite over the weekend, and will be at Mundelein tonight. After competing in the MLK Invitationals over the past weekend, boys hockey Winter Classic will take place at the Winter Club against St. Viator Friday. Girls are facing Maine at Niles tonight, and most recently beat Latin 4-1. And wrestling has their Lake County invite this weekend, and cheerleading has a conference on Friday at Warren. And boys swimming faces Zion Benton at home tonight. So a lot coming up later this week.
Yep. Obviously being a little selfish on this one, but because we have a meet tonight, I am giving a little bit of a shout out to the team, boys swimming and diving. So that is our jersey and team gear of the week. If you want us to feature your stuff, make sure you let us know. Just like how if you want more on the latest in LFHS Sports, check out the latest articles on theforescout.com, and also let us know if we screwed up somehow or you want to hear more from more sports. Just send in the scores and informative news to sportscoutspodcast@gmail.com so Michael can give it a shout out. So let's get into national sports. But before we completely move into national sports, we got two very Lake Forest-centric stories in the national sports world that are a really, really big deal. So, Michael, how about we start with yours?
Yeah, so the first one was the Bears announced last week that they're going to be moving training camp to Hallis Hall. I got a story on the Force Scout on the website that kind of recaps what's going to happen there. There's still a lot of questions what's going to unfold because Bourbonnais, of course, it's the Bourbonnais. That's been the nickname for the Bears. They've been there for 18 seasons, and that's going to be a big change for I guess the city and for the Bears being at home. I guess there's still questions like how many tickets. I got that on my article, but how many tickets are going to be available because there's so much room at in Bourbonnais where they practice. But now it's going to be probably a limited fashion, and it's going to be interesting to see how much accessibility there will be at Hallis Hall, and how much open practice there'll be towards the fans, because now it's a lot of teams have been moving towards their home bases because of all the money they've been putting into their Hallis Halls, their teams in the NFL. So it'll be interesting to see how much openness I guess there'll be from the Bears, but I guess probably more will be. They said more will be said once the regular season schedule comes out. I believe in a couple of weeks. So I guess more to come on that. So,
yeah, there are lots of sides to this. I feel like on one hand you got they're leaving Bourbonnais, which is sad. It's been 18 years of that. I was there once or twice on 2 separate training camp years, and it's a great experience. If you didn't do it, make sure you try to pick up what is probably going to be very, very limited ticketing opportunities to see training camp when it's here in Lake Forest. I mean, I think that it's kind of a sad development, but it's true for such a large portion of the league now that it was only inevitable for the Bears to move in that direction, especially because the Hallis Hall facilities are fantastic. We went there on a field trip last year.
Yeah,
just unbelievable, and they were still expanding at that time. So, I mean, they've really done so much with that, and obviously, from our perspective, it's really, really exciting to see that the Bears are moving into our backyard on what will be a very crucial training camp year.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's why they're probably that's another side factor as to why they're putting the training camp in a more limiting a less public environment, because I think that there's going to be a lot of very, very watchful eyes on what happens. So we'll see how that all works. I mean, I think a lot of it is just logistics. Bourbonnais had a lot more space. Olivet Nazarene University's campus really offered really a place for thousands of people to show up every year. Hallis Hall doesn't really do that. It's kind of secluded, and there's really not much parking space outside of the actual parking lot for Hallis Hall. So it'll be interesting to see how logistics work for that. But it is exciting to see that training camp will be taking place right here in Lake Forest. So that's one Lake Forest story. But the other one that I was looking at is, of course, former Lake Forest High School quarterback and basketball player Tommy Reese, now basically getting the keys to Notre Dame's offense, becoming offensive coordinator, getting promoted from the quarterback coach position. Obviously a very, very interesting move on multiple levels. Tommy Reese played in the late 2000s to 2010 for the Scouts, and broke so many records as a quarterback, was probably the most sought out recruit in Lake Forest High School history, and ends up becoming a starting quarterback at Notre Dame, having a solid playing career there. Trying out for the NFL, that not really working out, but he ends up back at his alma mater on the coaching staff. And I mean, I think the really big thing here is it seems like there's a lot of trust toward him, and that he must be a very, very smart mind on the sideline if this quickly Brian Kelly's willing to give him basically the keys to call the plays and run the offense. So that's really, really exciting. Obviously, Notre Dame is becoming a very, very Lake Forest heavy place here, as we got part of our class of 2020s. We have Riley Mills heading in there for next year. We'll see how that goes, but definitely big news. Not something that I expected either, so really, really cool to see.
Yeah, and he's only 27 years old too, and he's been the quarterback's coach since 2017 there, so definitely, like you said, must be head coach Brian Kelly's probably he's going to be one of his top lieutenants, I guess, this season, and he must have, like you said, a lot of trust in him to
if you promote someone offensive coordinator that quickly, especially at a program like Notre Dame, I think that means a lot, and that shows a lot toward how helpful of a factor he has been into Notre Dame's coaching staff recently, and hopefully in the future. We'll see. But yeah, that's it for that additional special Lake Forest segment, and we'll move right into Show Me What You've Got. Okay, so our Show Me What You've Got this week is kind of hefty because we haven't been around, and as you guys know, what we've been using Show Me What You've Got for recently is our football postseason-centric coverage as we usually write our previews, but now things are wrapping up to an end, so we got a lot to talk about. For me, it's really the entire college football postseason. All of that has really played out at this point. So congratulations to the LSU Tigers on winning a national championship in 2020 here. And obviously probably one of the most monster years out of a college football team in recent memory, just with the amount of ranked opponents that they beat, really just the strength of their resume. Joe Burrow becoming totally an all-time quarterback, not even just a Heisman Trophy winner. But I mean, definitely a very, very big deal there. Lots of different things coming out of that. Lots of bowl games playing out, a few exciting ones. I was as far as my picks here, I was incorrect on my national championship because I was picking Ohio State to beat LSU. I was kind of seeking out to see that matchup, but Ohio State Clemson I found was very, very entertaining. So it was kind of cool to see what happened out of that, and it was a fun year, I think, as far as all that went. Although I had my issues with the scheduling, which I think we've talked about on the show before, of how things have been organized with the bowls lately. It ended up being a pretty exciting year with lots of fun matchups to look at and a great way to close out the holiday season in 2019. So that was exciting.
And of course, with that victory that you said with LSU and the national championship, of course that was Trevor Lawrence's first loss too in college, which is just a crazy run for Clemson just to, make it back to the national championship again. And it's just they have a heck of a program there too, and it's going to be interesting now to see with, it's kind of stating the obvious, but with LSU in the SEC and then another powerhouse like Alabama, they're just going to be clashing it out now for years to come. And of course, we know what kind of program Alabama has, but now that LSU is back where they, I guess, used to be with Coach O now, it's going to be a dogfight every time those two teams lace it up against one another. So it's going to be, I think next year is going to be another great season. And it, like you said too, with the scheduling, we were kind of skeptical about what was gonna, if you liked it or not, that they were playing those games so early, I guess.
Right, and also so late.
Yeah. Those
way
3 weeks after the semifinal games happened that they played. It was 2.5 weeks or something like that.
Right.
But it's still that felt a long time. But it was a pretty good game until the end. But it was just a heck of a season by LSU. So
yeah,
to them.
It really was a well-deserved championship. It's a big deal in terms of we got something new out of a national champion, which was great for the committee and great for college football.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you're one of those 13 members, you should be very, very excited about this season because it was encouraging to defend that whole side of everything. But yeah, that's a very, very big deal. So that's what's going on in college football. Michael, take it with the NFL.
Yeah, so the NFL, we haven't been talking about this because it's been since before winter break. So it's been, I don't think we even got to the wild card yet since then. So yeah, there's been a lot that's gone down. Of course, the biggest story has been the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry he's just been a bulldozer since really the whole season. He led the NFL in rushing, and he just continued that in the playoffs. Nobody could bring him down in the divisional round against the Ravens, and of course going back to the wild card round against the Patriots, he just bulldozed right across a great defense in New England and Baltimore. And then of course Patrick Mahomes kind of showed who he was this last week, but just a heck of a run by the Titans, and they really should be proud of their season. And there's a lot of question marks, I guess, now going in the offseason. They got to re-sign Derrick Henry. Who's going to be their quarterback? I'm sure it's going to be Tannehill. And then what do you do with Marcus Mariota? He's probably going to let him walk. So a team like the Bears maybe would try to pick him up and just maybe put competition for Mitch in the training camp. But, is he really a realistic option, the quarterback? No, but just to get some kind of competition maybe. Because, of course, we know that Ryan Pace was pretty high on Mariota too coming out of college, so
yeah,
I don't know. But Pace has been missing on every quarterback.
I'm just so tired of listening to conversation about Bears quarterbacks right now.
I know. Because with that defense we got, if we just had anyone better than our quarterback right now, we probably would be.
I heard someone say this, and it does sound a little extreme because it's, in my opinion, undoubtedly at least the most memorable. Maybe not the best, but definitely I think one of the greatest in terms of teams and eras. I think the '85 Bears have a huge historical presence, and I think one of the biggest things that held them back, and is the sad story that caused them not to win more Super Bowls than what they did, was because of a lack of production out of everything that was happening on offense. And I just hope that another good defensive area in Chicago isn't wasted on just stupid quarterback decisions.
It's been a shame too, because it feels like all we talk about is, as Bears fans, is 1985, and it's just been constant just averageness, I guess, from the Bears, and only one Super Bowl since then, and of course a loss against the Colts in 2006. But it's just been a lot of mediocrity from Chicago for just such a long time. For one of the founding franchises, they should be like up there with the best every year, but it just hasn't been that, and things need to change. Really, it's been sad to see, because it's just been that defense we have is so good, and just missing on that quarterback has just set us back so much.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, I don't want to dive too much into Bears talk, but I mean, I guess definitely agree with you. Biggest thing, there's no doubt that the biggest story coming out of the playoffs was the Tennessee Titans, and kind of how crazy of a run they went on. They really did make these NFL playoffs very, very entertaining.
Of course, dethroning New England, that was the biggest probably story of Wild Card Weekend.
That was the biggest thing. I mean, I think like with Alabama, I was hearing some extreme things about kind of the Alabama dynasty coming to an end, and I wouldn't be so certain about that. I think with New England, it's a little bit more definite that things are coming to an end with that. At least for the time being, it's going to take some serious adjustment if it's going to happen. We'll see. I am almost just like I'm waiting for like complete confirmation that it's over at this point, because who knows? I
still think Brady comes back, though. I just can't see him going anywhere else.
I don't see him doing anything other than coming back. That doesn't seem like a question to me. I don't know why that's such a big story, because honestly, I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. It could happen, and then here I am. But I don't know. I just don't see Tom Brady doing something like that.
The whole locker room thing. He's like, we cleaned out his locker like unlike ever before. It's been so clean. Like he just cleaned out the whole. But like I just think that's a bunch of garbage, to be honest.
Giselle's box, all that stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I just can't see him in another like a Raiders uniform like they've been mentioning, or a Chargers. I can't see it.
I mean, I see the Patriots maybe pushing him to retire. And if he doesn't, which would not surprise me at all, they kind of throw him into a position of him being
more of a game manager kind of.
More of a game manager,
like a Peyton Manning
kind of quarterback, and they build around him. I mean, honestly, they've been doing that for so long.
Right.
I don't see why they don't continue that. I don't know. I just don't see him finishing his career in any other way other than retiring out of that franchise.
And being in the weak division outside, I guess Buffalo now has been. I mean, they're a playoff team this year, but
I wish they got more wins out of this playoff season.
I know.
It is unfortunate that they come up short again. I
know it's been a rough run for them as well. But I thought also, I guess we'll move now to the NFC. Going back to Wild Card Weekend, I mean the Eagles. I got to give them credit. Josh McCown gave a hell of a fight for the Eagles, even though they came up short. I mean they had just had so many injuries. They were just decimated. But even to make the playoffs was, pretty impressive. Even though the competition wasn't that great to get along the road to get there, but nonetheless they still made the playoffs. And I just feel bad for Carson Wentz though.
Yes,
because
very true.
Of course, when they won the Super Bowl, it was Nick Foles, and Wentz was hurt again, and now he got hurt with a concussion. But and then moving on, I guess the Vikings, another great story, knocking off the Saints. Of course, they came up short in the divisional round, but that was a big move for Kirk Cousins to finally get a convincing playoff victory under his belt. So good for him, I guess, even though it's the Vikings, but whatever.
Lots of big runs coming up short, but there was one big run that will obviously be a huge story here going forward, so we'll get to that.
Yeah, I know. And then, so, of course, the Super Bowl, we'll get to that next week on our next episode, but of course it's going to be the Chiefs and 49ers. Coming out of that. So, yeah, that should be a heck of a game. Of course, the 49ers are the 1 seed, the Chiefs are the 2 seed. But that's gonna be a heck of a battle, and I think that
I'm excited about it.
It'll be interesting to see if the 49ers, Garoppolo only threw the ball 8 times in the championship game. Mostert had 220 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns, so they just been a dominant running force. But with Patrick Mahomes, if they get down early, 2 touchdowns early, they're gonna be forced to throw the ball. And Garoppolo's been pretty good still throwing the ball, but it's going to be different for them because they've just been relying on the run. Their defense has been so good they don't have to rely on the pass, but that'll be
they've shown
change,
some
maybe.
serious depth as far as a team is. Their ability to adjust over time has really been remarkable. I'm just excited to see the Chiefs in a Super Bowl.
First time in 50 years.
It would make me extremely happy to see Andy Reid get a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like
he deserves it for sure.
I feel like as a football fan, I just kind of I feel like I identify with Chiefs fans. I feel like the Chiefs are, I mean, on a national scale, I feel like they're the Michigan of the NFL. They're the team that gets hyped up every year as, you know, hopefully going to take the next step, and then they never do it. And you know, Andy Reid has been that longtime coach that always just gets there, and it never fully works out. So I guess for that reason, I'm kind of hopeful for Chiefs fans to see that happen.
Yeah, I am too. But also a heck of a story for, I mean, Kyle Shanahan being, I mean, it's only like his third year, I believe, and to go from, might be his fourth year, but going from just, I mean, they only had like 3 wins this first year, like 5 wins the second year, and then last year just another disappointing season. To go to 13-3, get the first seed, and make it to the Super Bowl has been, I mean, that's a heck of a run for them. And also, one last thing before we move on is, I forgot to say this, but Raheem Mostert was on the Bears practice squad. The Bears cut him, and he scored 4 touchdowns. And then Robbie Gould also had a couple field goals to go with it. And so it was all former Bears that had all the 49ers points in that game.
I will,
which is just crazy for me.
I don't want to rant about this for too long, but I will never get over the Bears getting rid of Robbie Gould for the reason that I am very, very confident that the reason why they got rid of him is, I guarantee you, he opened up his mouth to Jay Cutler and they just canned him for it. And that really annoys me because I don't know. I don't think it should be a secret, but I don't have that many positive things to say about Jay Cutler despite his obvious talent. I don't know. He didn't really seem to appreciate his talent that much, to be honest. Yeah. So I don't know. That's a whole conversation. But
Gould did have a down.
The point is Robbie Gould is a probably a Hall of Fame kicker. He did have a down year, but I mean, you know, I guess he can step up in big moments anyway. I mean, that's what players like that do.
He's been phenomenal since he's left. So he's still a great kicker, and I know it hurts to watch, to be honest, but I'm happy for him to get that Super Bowl finally. They get another appearance. Yeah, no, was he on the 2006 Bears? He was, right?
I assume he is.
I mean, he's got to be, because he was with the Bears for a long time. But
as long as I can remember,
he doesn't have a win, though. We know that for sure. But hopefully, I mean, maybe he gets that win on Super Bowl Sunday. But hopefully that's going to be. I think that's going to be a great game, better than last year's, because that was a defensive battle that whole game. So it wasn't much scoring, but I think this one will be a lot different. So we'll get more to come. I guess on that.
That's going to be big. We'll get more on that. Last year, if you guys remember, It Matters Now came to an end with a big Super Bowl roundtable. We're planning on doing the same thing, hoping to get a lot of guests on that. So yeah, we're hopeful that next week is going to be very, very Super Bowl centric and very good. So that's the end of our giant version of Show Me What You've Got, and let's move into news. All right, so our first story here is the recent Cubs convention. The Cubs convention in 2020, I would say, was very, very interesting, as is this Cubs team at this current time with, you know, new manager, lots of big shifts happening in a time where we thought we would have stability. It's just kind of a weird time. I think probably the biggest thing, the most interesting story that comes out of it was Marquee Network, the new Marquee Network's very, very negative backlash as far as the fan reaction during Tom Ricketts' introduction of Marquee Network. It's pretty obvious that Cubs fans are going to miss WGN, at least for some time. Tom Ricketts says otherwise, but that's definitely a very, very interesting story this year, because I mean, it's just, I don't know, things are weird with the Cubs, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's been a weird, I mean, transition from 2016. Of course, we still made the NLCS the year after,
right? But
then after that, it's just been a downhill kind of spiral for the Cubs. I mean, it's been a lack of, I mean, of course, the core we have is still very young, but outside of that, there's just been, the pitching has been aging. I mean, we kind of knew that was going to happen, but I mean, the bullpen has not been. Of course, we lost Aroldis Chapman after 2016, but there really hasn't been. We had Wade Davis in 2017, but outside of that, we really haven't had that dominant guy anymore. And it's just been kind of a weird feeling, because the Cubs that were the team of stability from 2015 up until, I mean, I guess you could say last year, but now it's a different feel. That there's been trade rumors going around. There's been booing at the Cubs convention, like you said, and I think this Marquee Network kind of came at the wrong time, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really not a great time where you can have trust in Cubs fans. I feel like there's like almost any other time, I guess, just like post World Series, heavier expectation version of Cubs fans is it's just not a good time to introduce something like this, even when they're horrible and losing and stuff. Like, that's even a better time, I feel like. So, I mean, we've had a full segment on marquee sports and what that's going to do. It might be the first step in what will be an evolving medium and evolving way to present teams, especially teams like baseball, hockey, basketball, kind of those winter through summer sports that have the longer schedules. We'll see what happens with it, but what we do know right now is people are very, very skeptical about it, as it really just doesn't go along with what the Cubs have been historically, but it's just also it doesn't come at a good time with a.
I know, and WGN's has been, a fixture for. That's how it's attracted so many Cubs fans, because of it being national. That's how people became Cubs fans, is because WGN. That's and now putting
such
that,
a big part of Cubs fandom.
Getting rid of that. Of course they had less games on there last year because the new deal with, or I guess they had that deal with ABC that they took a few games away from WGN, but now there's a lot of questions because it's not even done yet, I don't think.
Right.
The Marquee Network, and they showed like a video of, it was like Len Casper, I think I saw. It was like his birthday the other week, and like they showed like the backdrop, and it just looked like it was kind of nasty, to be honest. Like it wasn't finished. Like you could see like the green screen behind it. Like it was not a good like clear picture, and that's just not a good image, I guess, for Cubs fans to be seeing for the first thing on their network is a nasty looking picture of. It was like a table behind. It was like the wall was behind it, and it was like supposed to be like the ivy like in the brick, but it just like it did not. It was like on like Len's like shirt.
Oh, like, so like very obvious green screen.
So it was not a good look for them right now. But I just hope that they figure it out eventually. But right now is
that's
not
what
a good time
everybody's
to be
hope
doing
is
that.
in so many ways. Like, figure it out eventually. I don't know.
The only positive of it is, I guess they will have more spring training games on there, which is always nice, I guess, if you want to see the team every now and then, because there's not always that many games on television for spring training. But outside of that, and I'm sure it'll work out eventually, but it'd be interesting to see like the numbers of how much it costs, I guess, too, for fans. Like, they got to be cognizant of that, and there's going to be definitely a change for Cubs fans, just being accustomed to, WGN for so long, and then CSN Chicago and ABC then.
Big time.
But, yeah, it's definitely a new change.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's move on to our next story here.
Yeah, so this one is, we're shifting gears now to college basketball. It was last night, a crazy brawl between Kansas State and Kansas. And there's this, if you look up the video, it was
that's the
crazy.
biggest thing. Before you listen to this, just look up the video, because this is one of those.
Yeah, you got to
see
the video first.
You have to see it. Because it's not just any brawl, but it's pretty insane, and definitely reminiscent of some of the biggest brawls in basketball history.
Yeah, there's just no place for that in the game. The game was already over. What's the? You're up by they're up by 20, Kansas, and it just. I know tensions were getting hot, but just put that aside.
I don't understand where that block comes from. Why you're blocking a shot like that? And I guess that's what warranted all of the fighting. Obviously, I hope there were no severe injuries. We'll see with that. Things are still kind of coming through the news cycle on this right now, because this was just last night. I think the thing that's interesting though is talk about the evolution of basketball and how things have changed over time and how things have kind of cleaned up, and these moments have really been tossed aside ever since the Malice and the Palace so many years back. I think that's probably one of the things that this is reminiscent of, and it's just interesting to see this come in an era now where we seem to be so far away from that. Yeah. As just a sports fan sitting there, I can't help but be entertained by it, and I think that the lack of some degree of physicality in basketball is something that I guess kind of miss, and the don't touch me foul basketball that is played now, especially in the NBA, is not something that I find as entertaining. So to that degree, it was fun, but there's definitely no place for brawls to this extensive this extensive of an instance where you're potentially hurting other people. It ended up going into the handicap section, and it got pretty rough, and it took a long time to break up right at the end of this game. And what was kind of a sleepy, simple Kansas in-state rivalry win ended up kind of shocking everybody here.
And of course, the college basketball can't fine anybody here, unlike the NBA or other sports. But it'll be interesting to see what the kind of punishments they hand out for whoever's involved. Of course, it could be the guy, I forgot his name on Kansas, but the guy who grabbed the stool, he could be out for probably the whole year, or even he could lose the scholarship, even if they feel that is the best move to just remove him from the team.
Silvio De Sousa?
Yeah, that's right. And
so he was the one who picked up the stool. I do think if you end up doing that, going full like WWE, I think if you do that, I think there's probably two options here. It's definitely either you're getting suspended for the rest of the season, or this is an even larger conversation than that, because definitely with the amount of attention that this is getting, the fact that this happened last night, and we're talking about it now, so many people are, it's the biggest story this morning. I do think that they're gonna make some theatrical decisions, probably just in order to kind of.
If it was just punches, it would be different. But bring
together.
a stool into the equation here, there's just no place for that. So it'll be interesting to see what the college basketball world thinks about this on the national stage, and then what college basketball does hand out as punishment. So I guess we'll get to that next week to see what is handed out. So because we'll definitely get that come next week.
Our last piece of news here: Derek Jeter and Larry Walker were the two baseball players elected into the Hall of Fame this year. I think there are two sides to this. You have Derek Jeter, who's probably the easiest Hall of Fame bid ever, I think, historically. It's amazing that it didn't get unanimous. I know people were upset about that. I would definitely join that club. I don't know why someone wouldn't vote for Derek Jeter to get into the Hall of Fame, other than to just try to boost up other people's votes, because we already knew Derek Jeter was going to get in pretty clearly. But that's pretty exciting. And then on the other hand, you have Larry Walker, who in his last year of his eligibility for the Hall of Fame sneaks his way in, because projections even toward the end were a little bit low for him, and he was expecting to not be able to get in, and he got a call late, and he's going to Cooperstown forever. So that's a big deal for him. But baseball's Hall of Fame is definitely the Hall of Fame that causes the most drama, just in terms of the system and the way that players are voted on, and so many stories that come into that and conversations. It is nice to see, at least mostly, to see people unite around something like Derek Jeter, because he is a generational player that at least I was very, very lucky to see, and I know so many other people were. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then just to add, we were talking about this before the show, but if you guys didn't see it, check out O.J. Simpson's Twitter page, and the video, he was golfing or whatever, and then he gets off the course, golfing. And then somebody told him that one guy didn't vote for Derek Jeter to get in the Hall of Fame, and he's like, who didn't do that? And then he's like, get rid of that guy, and the comments just erupted, of course, with the kind of language he used, but my God.
The comments on his Twitter is like almost, it's so
he starts
bad,
every video with yours truly. It's like, oh,
it's
man,
crazy.
That was pretty funny to see, but he's like, it was a guy from Boston or whatever, and it's pretty funny, but
he must be, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that can explain it. There's definitely going to be a story on that's going to come out eventually, because that's interesting for sure. But yeah, Derek Jeter, Larry Walker.
That guy's got to be sweating, whoever it is that didn't vote for him. So.
Yeah, for sure, because he's getting all the attention. He might have thought that there was going to be two or something.
Do they come out?
It's just him. I don't know.
Publicly with it? I don't remember.
I don't even know. I feel like they might. There'll be a way that they.
Somebody will find out.
Somebody will figure it out. But yeah, that's the end of our news, and we're going to move into They Don't Scout Like This. Real quick, our They Don't Scout Like This is the upcoming Pro Bowl. Obviously, this is a little bit of a weird week, right in between, as always, in between the NFC and AFC championships and the Super Bowl. We got the Pro Bowl here, and, really, I feel like the era of being excited about All-Star games in general has really come to an end. There's only a few format changes that make things interesting. I think right now, really what does is larger league and sport impacts like this, where the NFL is going to be trying out these new rules here. The biggest one is really getting the fourth and 15 play to replace onside kicks.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the biggest thing is the getting rid of kickoffs, kind of the way that the AAF did when we talked about that, back when that was very, very briefly a thing.
Yeah, that was like 2 weeks of a thing, but yeah.
Yeah, that was
tried.
very, very briefly league. They tried. The XFL's coming. I'm very, very excited about that because it looks like they actually have something in place that'll be interesting. We'll see on that. But I mean, the biggest thing is trying to limit kickoffs, because I think that's the biggest league development right now. Is you start to realize that having a play with guys running full speed at each other across 100 yards is probably a little bit dangerous. So they're making moves to limit that, and it'll be interesting to see in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
I just feel like, I'm not against it, but I just feel like they should probably move it back a little further, because you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, he can sling it. I mean, that's what he does every play, basically a 15-yard gain.
It would change the game.
Maybe
I mean, it's
20, fourth and 25.
So much league development now is toward get as many points on the board as we can.
It's just
keep everything a game. Like, that's really what the NFL is becoming slowly, which I don't know if I like, because I mean, as you guys know, I'm always old school. I like defenses, but at the same time, I understand it. So we'll just see how it works. It's some of these, it's just really, we'll see once they implement it, how they impact the game, because we can all think about it. But I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but kickoffs, I'm a firm believer, though, still, that you got to keep that in the game, because that's just so important to the game.
I think you have to keep it in
and
some way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Guys like a Cordell Patterson and
right.
Nicole Hardman on the Chiefs now. He was really good as well this year. I mean, that's their bread and butter kind of play in the league. And
right, you get rid of players like that. I mean, I don't know. One of my favorite players of all time is Devin Hester.
Yeah.
What happens without the kickoff?
Yeah, right. Seriously.
Like, I don't know. It's something to think about for sure. But we're gonna see, because I think that this is going to be a new trend, at least for, we can talk about the larger conversation of All-Star games, but I think just in general, it's going to be a big deal now with having new rules come into play and seeing how games are going to be developed in the future. I guess that's kind of what the advertising spot that All-Star games are going to take now, like the Pro Bowl, is like, oh, this is going to be a look at the future. So we'll see on that. So that's the end of They Don't Scout Like This. And for your scouting, we don't have any calls this week because we haven't been here in forever. But make sure you send in your questions for next week. We still have the phone lines open, 224-544-9330. We're hoping to have a good Your Scouting segment finally for Season 2 there. And let's move into Just Wait Till Next Week. As for my Just Wait Till Next Week, I have two very, very simple things. As we talked about, very, very excited to get together with a bunch of guests and preview the Super Bowl. That's really the big thing. And also just to see winter sports picking up. I'm a huge hockey guy, even though both of our teams aren't doing that well. Shout out to Patrick Kane, by the way, for the 1,000th point. That's a really, really big deal.
And Coach Q is back.
Coach Q returning last night. That was also very, very cool. Lots of cool Hawks end of decade moments. I mean, they were voted on many accounts to be the franchise of the decade in hockey, and that's almost, it's hard to dispute that. And we've definitely been spoiled over the last 10 years as far as what we've gotten out of that franchise, and hopefully things pick back up soon. It's been a lot of nostalgia lately, and unfortunately not much along with that. So we'll see what happens in the future with that. But I'm looking forward to just seeing the NHL in general. There's lots of exciting teams kind of building up as always. Definitely get spoiled with that. And just basketball too, college basketball for sure. So all that stuff.
And for me, of course, Super Bowl, it's the biggest game of the year. And another story that I want to talk about, it's kind of under the radar. It probably goes to They Don't Scout Like This, but the Illinois basketball turnaround has just been, they're now a top 20, they'll probably be moving up towards a top 20 team, but right now they're ranked 21. They had a huge win over Purdue last night. They killed them last night.
What is going on with Illinois sports?
And I want to dive into that whole turnaround, how it happened, and just honestly, even though the football team too, they didn't win they still finished with a losing record, but to get 6 wins was a pretty big deal for them. And
they lost in the Red Box Bowl to Cal, I think, right?
A big turnaround for that whole program.
I'm so excited for Lovie Smith in that program, and I mean Illinois sports, they've really picked things up. Lots of lower deemed lower kind of Big Ten schools are picking.
Even Rutgers
picking
too. Their basketball team's
Rutgers basketball.
Good.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, Rutgers basketball. So
Yeah,
lots of exciting things going on.
More to talk about next week, so
yeah, for sure.
Stay tuned.
So that's all we got today. Congrats for sticking through and listening to this whole thing. As always, we appreciate it. You can subscribe to listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, PodBean, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, RadioPublic. Give us a positive review, 5 stars, comment, do whatever you want in all those places. Subscribe to watch us on YouTube. We always encourage that. Still trying to get to our goal. We haven't really put out videos lately, so I'm not expecting things to move that quickly, but I'm hoping we can really pick things up here. So yeah, do that. Of course, read the 4 Scout. Lots of good articles. So we're kind of transitioning through the semester, but the next huge wave, kind of beginning
next week,
big beginning of semester wave will come in here soon. So get ready for another week of Sports Scouts, and in the meantime, we'll keep on scouting. See you guys later.
See you next week.